Alright, why not turn the mic on, Charlie? Okay. Wow. Okay. So, talk about this a little bit more then in actual words. Box magazine has some kind of cool detail. It's got the kind of a frosted finish on the interface surfaces, which is too bad just because I noticed with the other worker magazines that caused not quite the smooth insertion that I would have liked. However, the follower seems to be nice and smooth. It's interesting that it's just a single coil spring, like an actual coil spring. But it's nice and solid. It doesn't have seem to have any tip side to side or anything. Still has good tension here at the end, so that's cool. Switches and things. Whoa, wait a second. Just caught these in the light. These are kind of a pinkish. Yeah, like a weird, yeah, like pink, like, what the heck's that color that, oh, you see a lot of like 57 Chevys and like late 50s Cadillac, kind of this color, kind of a soft purpley, almost pinkish kind of weird. Interesting. I'll take pictures, but I was unaware of that color. Anyway, so, we're making noise now. So, this is the cardboard. Holy smokes. Okay, and, okay, that's the adapter guy. Okay, it's set up for this gargantuan, brick mag, so it comes with these little adapter things that I guess you have to screw in ahead of time, so it's not like a quick insertion thing so you can swap between gargantuan mags and standard mags, so it's kind of a semi-commitment. And a battery door, I guess? Oh, an expanded door. Okay, cool. A lot of screws and a little GST connector. So, let's see what we got here. This is the, yeah, Conqueror. Oh, dang it. Asymmetrical again. Which, I mean, I guess it's, I don't know if it's going to give you room for 180s. Are these standard size? Oh, I guess those are. Those 180s? Not very torquey fellas. But I guess they're, again, single or first stage probably isn't that big of an issue. Huh. Yeah, those are bigger boys. Okay, so I guess that'll be one thing to experiment with a little bit. Just kind of looking it over a little bit. The grip is, well, nice roomy handguard, nice roomy everywhere. It'd be cool if I had a little bit more room in front of the trigger. If you had a fat finger, you'd be kind of like having to poke your finger in instead of just slipping it in. It's got a not great trigger, reminiscent of the Swordfish, but not quite so as the Swordfish. So good on them. Rev switch is kind of clunky, and it feels like it doesn't actually engage the switch until right there. So it's kind of clunky, but it feels like there again, much like the Swordfish, the trigger isn't a gloss finish, it's kind of a frosted finish, and so there's interface areas where the two switches interact as the lockout, and you can just feel that friction, feel it kind of like crunch, crunch, crunch. So that'd be one thing to look into. So as far as the grip itself, though, it's not as bad as a Swordfish. It feels a little bit better. The Swordfish seemed a bit too narrow this way, so this feels like a notable improvement. Still feels like something's a bit amiss. It makes it. I want, like, my hand wants to hold it like that way a little bit, and so it's like it needs just a little bit more width, just a bit. Like there is an actual like handle scale detail. It's like if that stuck out a little bit, that'd give you a little bit more material to hold on to. But it is nice. Got it's all Picatinny across the top and bottom and everything. It's got kind of a cool, like, louvery looking, you know, like vented vent slot things here. An actual, there looks like a vent from like your heating ducts in your house, right on the magwell, which is interesting. Same detail here, but it sticks out further. Looks like provisions for Picatinny on the sides, just the little pieces that I guess is probably standard for the worker stuff. This kind of throws it off a little bit, where you have the cool, like, barrel. There's actually a barrel in there already. Okay, well, that's kind of cool. And then these kind of decorative deals, but inside the actual end cap here, it's offset, which looks a bit goofy. So it almost would have been cool if they would have like tapered it in a little bit here, just so at least the front view is a little cleaner looking and less just boxish. Or even just pull this side out just a little bit more. It's not that big of a deal. So some lessons learned from the Swordfish debacle. It doesn't have any dopey graphics or anything or weird names. It's just got the little worker logo, which is expected. Nice and discreet. And something, if you wanted to, you could sand off if you were planning on painting it anyway or whatever. Like I said, there's this little switch thing for something we'll find out later, I'm sure. And there's these two guys, which I think are for the potentiometers, which look like they can be punched out later if you'd like. So let's see what the... Okay, 40 rounds that way. Wow, locks in nice and solid, like there's no wiggle. There again, I believe the Swordfish was like this too. But it's just a little bit more friction than I'd like. Like it feels like it's a bit of a chore to slide it in. And hopefully that'll kind of break in a little bit. I don't know if you could like sand that smooth or polish it or something, but it's not something... It's a tight magwell as far as fit, and it's great, but it's almost so tight that it's hard to... I guess once you kind of get used to it. There again, I can see that hanging up a little bit, having a bigger throat there. Huh. Okay, well, that'll be interesting for sure. Okay, we're starting to get the Swordfish creak. There it is. Sounds like you got gerbils in your blaster or something. Okay, well, okay. So they didn't solve everything, but all right. Well, let's. Wasn't planning on doing this today, but I guess we can adapt. So let's go ahead and just look inside. There's a couple of screws holding it together, just enough to make it solid. Okay, so these end pieces fall out. So that's kind of cool that maybe there's going to be little things you could plug in there, like, I don't know, like a light kind of thing. That'd be kind of cool. I'm sure there's probably some kind of plan in mind there, but in the meantime, we'll just park them there. This is is that a larger diameter tube? Looks a little bigger, actually. Nope, it looks exactly the same, only a slightly different color. Okay. So I guess this, okay, apparently this guy's for when you get multiple stages on there, and this guy is to get you by until you can afford all the kit stuff. Alright. I'm assuming. Kinda... Okay, this is a nice feature where they graduated and said, hey, let's use big boy switches in the back here. There again, learning from the Swordfish. Let's put some zoom on that so we can see what's going on. Ed Scar's mad that he can't make fun of me for screwing up the zoom. But, yeah, there's one screw that holds the switch in place, and then just a kind of a cover piece that keeps the switch, or the buttons contained a little bit, and then just kind of holds the top of the switch. So it's not loose, but it's not like solid, but I mean it's perfectly acceptable, and maybe... yeah, that's good enough, that's good and solid. It's still interesting that there's so much travel. I don't know if you can see that. There's all this travel up here before it even gets to that. Okay. So let's, holy smokes. There's little screws and buttons and all kinds of things everywhere. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, there we go. I was going to say, I certainly hope this comes with kits, or not kits, instructions. Okay, it tells you how to put stuff in a Swordfish, but I guess that's just the pusher, I guess. Land's sakes almighty. Oh-ho. There, that's better. Okay, this looks more familiar. Okay, this does appear to be an expanded battery cover. How expanded is it? apparently just expanded enough. So, alrighty. We're going to count on having to use that because... cuss. That was close. Okay, this looks familiar. It looks just like that one. Okay, so we got two of those, which means I guess we figured this guy out on our own. So, yeah, let's... There we go. Okay. So it's just a slip in? Weird. Okay. So there's these panels, or this panel, it's got 4 little buttons on it. A little notch at, in the corner here, 2 little slots. Apparently the notch goes around. Whew, that's good. Goes around the little pusher ramp thing and interacts with those guys. So it just goes clunk and sticks in there. And that means this guy just does the same. And it just holds in by way of magic. I guess that's good enough. So when you stick it together, okay, kind of got my doubts there. I mean, when there's a mag in it, it's of course going to hold it in place. But, yeah. Guess this one can't go too far because it runs into the mag release. Oh, a bit suspect there. A bit concerned at how well that's going to work. Okay, well, let's because we know how a standard strife style pusher works, and we have an auto kit with a little rheostat and everything, then I am just going to go ahead and set the internals for this guy. Okay, I'm not sure what to think. Okay. Interesting. Okay, just looking at the differences in the trigger here. It's still got the little pins here to activate the linkage. Everything else seems normal, but it doesn't have as much of a cutout here. This allows a little bit of travel before it hits the top of the switch here, even though you have to have the switch depressed to trip the lockout. Whereas this guy here won't let it move at all. But a bit snug. Feels like there's a bit more resistance than there should be. Whereas this guy just kind of flops around like crazy. This guy just goes... very limited travel. Interesting. That's very interesting. I assume that's going to make sense later. I hope. Okay, that felt just a tiny bit snug at first, but seems to be, well... There we go. Okay, well, a bit snugger than I think I'd like. But maybe it's the idea of having it being a tiny bit snug, then if you have to add a little lubage or something, then that's better than having it too all loose and floppy to begin with. Like I just stick like that. Okay, then there's... okay. So it does mount in 2 spots. And I guess that's what the extra longy screws are, is to go through that whole housing. Cool. Okay, well that's pretty interesting. Not in a situation right now where I can really break out the soldering stuff, so I'm going to go about the projects that I have going on right now in the house, and I'll come back to this maybe tomorrow, and we'll do some thrashing on it and put some power to it. So, see you in a bit.